Welcome to episode 10 of the New England Holstein Association podcast series. The mission statement of the New England Holstein Association indicates that it's a member association dedicated to encouraging the breeding and raising of registered Holsteins, and this podcast intends to provide resources toward those ends while increasing member connectedness. This episode is sponsored by United Sires and Zoetis. United Sires. As multi-generational dairy farmers, we adhere to a simple yet powerful principle. We milk what we make. This means we intimately understand the importance of breeding cattle that are profitable throughout their lifetimes, functional across all dairy enterprises, and aesthetically pleasing. We recognize the crucial role of functional linears in our own dairy operations, which is why we are committed to breeding cattle that excel both on paper and in practice. Our deep-rooted connection to the dairy industry, combined with the latest advancements in genetic technology, drives our mission to breed the best better. I'm your host, Betsy Bullard of Breguin Farms in Turner, Maine, and I am also the Area 1 Director for Holstein USA. Each of our podcasts feature one or more members discussing timely topics from breeder perspectives, marketing activities, on-farm technologies, and management strategies, to youth highlights, and numerous things in between. Guests do have homework for each episode, naming an iconic New England cow and a personal cow icon whose story intertwines with their Holstein experience. Today's guest is Keith Kimball of La Casa de Leche in Groveland, New York. Keith is a transplanted New Englander and makes for kind of a fun story to tell about that journey and some of the other exciting things that Keith's involved in, namely the United Sires adventure. Keith, thanks for joining us today. And if you wouldn't mind telling our listeners a little bit more about your background and what brings us here today.
Thanks for having me. So I grew up in central Massachusetts in Worcester County on a dairy farm there. Me and my family milked about 200 cows there. So I did all the typical New England 4-H programs, showed at Eastern States, and that's where my roots are, my foundation, and a lot of the people that have shaped my life came from there. I went to college at Cornell. After college, returned to the home farm for a couple years and had an opportunity to dairy up in New Hampshire. So in 2003, I moved to New Hampshire with a classmate from college, and he and I formed a partnership. His name's Keith Chapin, my name's Keith Kimball, so that was Pinball Dairy. We milked about 400 cows there. After about 3 years, we went our own ways. We had started our herds, and in 2012, I moved out to Western New York, just to a farm that was a little bigger, quite a bit more land base out in Western New York, and we wanted to continue to grow the business. Today, we milk about 3,000 cows on 2 different sites in Western New York.
Thanks, Keith, for wrapping in that tie to Eastern States Expo, our last episode 9, as it were. We talked with Bonnie Burr, who's been involved in the Eastern States Expo for quite a number of years, and kind of how that event has changed over time and is still a pretty impressive resource for our New Englanders. Quite the set of moves going from the family dairy to New Hampshire, and your profile on United Sires suggests that, and you just told us you're milking 3,000-ish now, and that's on multiple sites as well?
Yep, that's on multiple sites, and it's kind of been our formula. When we were in New England, we actually milked on a couple different sites, but there's been some opportunities to grow into businesses and retire out the older generation, and it's worked well for me, and it's worked well for the farms that don't have a next generation coming and are looking for a transition plan.
Hey there, after you've finished enjoying this podcast, might I recommend you join me, Tim Hammerich, and our guests on Clarity at Work from Zoetis. We'll be talking genetics and their place on the dairy. You've got a seat at the table as we discuss innovations, what's next for the industry, and more.
I have to find the value in everything that I do, and I still find value in Clarified Plus, so we're going to continue to use it.
Just search for Clarity at Work wherever you listen to podcasts. Once you finish with this podcast, of course.
The members have produced and often retained 5 generations of dams and a bull's pedigree, ensuring profitability and quality at every level. That's a pretty good number of cows, and a pretty good number of pretty dedicated breeders. Tell us how that ties in with your kind of your sense of taking advantage of opportunities over time, and how did you find yourself involved with United? And probably there are lots of details about United that I haven't touched on.
So United Sires is a group of 11 breeders, and we came together about 3 years ago and bought a bull together. And we wanted to buy high-end bull that we could produce some of our own genetics with, genetics that we would fully control and have the opportunity to market from. That's kind of how we started, and we just buying bulls together and just trying to grow our programs, maybe diversify our programs a little bit from the standard genetics lines that you get using just one bull stud as for your sires of females and males. As we evolved, we of course started thinking about how do we get a return on these sires. And one of the things is you just have free agent animals that you can market. We felt that kind of limited our upside potential. So we decided about a year and a half ago, that we were going to start marketing our own semen. Kept buying bulls and making more offspring, and just started retaining a lot of those bulls that would typically be free agent bulls for ourselves, so that we could have a lineup that we could provide to the marketplace.
There seems to be a consistent theme here with opportunities. You and the other 10 breeders felt like there were opportunities in the market to control your destiny, perhaps a little bit more closely than the existing AI framework was doing. Is that some of the thought behind it?
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate. As breeders, we wanted to be able to control our own programs. Now, I'll say we're not looking to compete with the AI studs. We still collaborate with the AI studs, and they provide us a lot of opportunity and some genetics. We just wanted to make sure that we had control of that next generation, and we looked at it as an opportunity to provide genetic solutions to the industry outside of the typical format. Part of it is to say we wanted to maintain our independence, and that's not to say that we want to be independent from the bull studs entirely, but we understand that there's a collaboration here that can work for everyone. It's been positively received within the AI industry. Sire analysts that we've worked with for years are supportive of it. The industry is supportive of it. It offers another path for breeders to be successful, but also to develop lead-in genetics that'll work on our dairy farms. We wanted some independence. We wanted to make sure we controlled our females. To get that independence was to work collaboratively. You can't be fully independent because one person can't do it on their own, but the strength of the group with 11 farms, 40,000 cows, and I like to say we've got 11 sire analysts at least. We're all breeding cows the way we want to breed them. We're breeding cows that work in our herd. We can do anything we want, and we breed some high type animals to high genomic bulls, and we breed some high genomic bulls to high type bulls, and we're just trying to make stuff that'll work in our herd, but also trying to be creative and have some fun with it at the same time.
One of the phrases that jumps out to me is that the group is committed to breeding cattle that excel both on paper and in practice, which is exactly what you said. If you folks are between all of you are milking 40,000 cows, there is a certain level of buy-in there that's pretty evident.
One of the things that I think is a strength for us is the number of donors that we have within the group and the diversity in our female population. So you have to have the buy-in. The group feels strongly about the donor population that the group collectively and collaboratively has. It's definitely a pro for sure.
Heath, what do you feel like is the most important thing that you folks learned from this conversation about United that maybe they didn't know about it, or would maybe nudge them to reach out and learn more and even better invest in some of these genetics?
The most important thing to know is that we're breeding cows. We're breeding that next generation that we feel is going to work in our herd. So all of us have our own cows, and we milk our own cows, and that's still what pays the bills. The genetic side of it is a nice supplement to our business, but milking these cows is what pays the bills, and it's what will continue to pay the bills for everyone in our group. So we're breeding cows, keeping the females, and the females are making it into our milking strings. Every day we're working with these cows, so we see what works and what doesn't. We're trying to breed a generation of cows, help our farms be successful into the future. as a result of that, the males are full siblings to a lot of the animals that we're milking in our herd, and that's what's being offered up to the industry to help build their herds.
How does launching a bull stud fit in with milking 3,000 cows on multiple sites?
It's been a lot of fun, I'll say. A big learning curve, just like the diversity in our group, the diversity that it brings to my farm is a challenge, and it's intriguing, and it gives you a different level of interest and another reason, to get up in the morning and go to work. We've got a board. 5 out of the 11 members are on the board. I'm one of the board members. So we have spent quite a bit of time over the past 2 years just kind of developing our strategy, getting feedback from our members, and determining what our best path forward is. And then just this past fall, we hired a CEO, and we had the bull lineup, and we're ready to launch. And we've learned as much since then as we did before then. There's a lot that goes into it. It's a lot about just the logistics of running a bull stud, of getting a semen order out the door, but also being able to make payroll and have everything that you need to have in place to run just any business. So we started from scratch. So I like to say our CEO, Mitch, he's got to cook the meal and he's got to serve it too. He's building it right from the ground up. He's super talented, super ambitious. He knew that coming in, and he's done a great job with it, but it's a big learning curve and a lot of work just to get it up and off the ground.
I would imagine the logistics are an interesting component of the business as well.
Adding things to your plate and creating more work for yourself, and you have to pick and choose what you want to do. I think the United Sires piece for me has been very fulfilling. It has taken a lot of time, but it's fun to be in those board meetings, to discuss with other breeders philosophies and the fundamentals of how you think this business should run, and how should we grow this business, how should we develop our genetics, what are the pros and cons of every decision we make. So it's been something for me that's been a challenge, but it's been a lot of fun going through that process.
That's a great point, Keith. There are days where the dairy business is not fun, for sure. To make sure that those opportunities that you're picking do at least have some element of fun and challenge in them. I think that's always a good point. Would it be safe to say that your group that's involved both in your dairy currently and in your United Sires group is enthusiastic and optimistic about the future of dairy?
I think if you're going to be in dairy, you have to be optimistic. It's always been one of those things where, if milk price goes down, you're always just thinking, well, it's got to go back up, right? So optimism is, I think, what keeps you going. I look at things in the dairy industry, and there's going to be challenges. We're all going to go through those things together, but you have to just kind of figure out how to navigate through those challenges. And I think there's always an answer. It's just maybe not crystal clear. And I feel the same way with United Sires. I mean, there's been a ton of investment from the breeders in this group. There's a financial commitment, and then there's the commitment of the genetics. If you're going to use your donors for United Sires, there's a commitment and cost there, because you could be using them elsewhere. So that commitment is huge, and the 11 breeders feel strongly that this can be successful. And at the same time, we recognize that the decisions we make and the moves we make matter. We take all those very seriously, and we talk through them, and we work through them. And I know there's a way it will be successful. It's just a matter of if we pull the right strings and make the right decisions. And I feel pretty good about what we've done to date.
If our listeners are wondering, how do I find United Sires?
Our model right now is set up to work through distributors, people that are established, that are selling semen as independents. We wholesale sell to them, and then they'll retail sell it out into the market. On our website, unitedsires.com, there's a list of who you can get semen through, but you can also buy directly through United Sires. And if you reach out to info@United Sires, they'll either put you in contact with somebody in your area or walk you through how to do an order and have it shipped directly to you.
I don't want you to feel like you missed out on your homework assignment here. Veer off into an iconic cow. There's one that you mentioned in your breeder profile for United, but maybe you have a different one. Surprise us and our listeners with your iconic cow.
I grew up in Worcester County, Massachusetts, and there's a great breeder still there milking cows today, Whittier Farms. And one of my favorite cows of all times was Whittier Farms Lead May. And actually, years before United Sires, my brother and I had bought an embryo out of Lead May, a couple Durham embryos, and we ended up with a Durham bull. He ended up being CV positive, but Seth and I marketed him all around New England and Eastern New York, collected him ourselves. Whittier Farms Lead May is just a cow that every time I hear the iconic cow, she's one that jumps out at me.
Pretty good foreshadowing on getting into the sire business, that you had that early experience there. Maybe that's was
right.
Thinking in the back of your mind that was going to be a long-term opportunity kind of thing.
So I didn't step into United with zero experience in the semen business.
See, that's excellent. Always, you never know where these little adventures are going to lead us.
We actually started out the plan being mostly international sales. We have a sales manager in the Netherlands, and he covers quite a lot of the world, really. So we've had a lot of success early on with our international sales. We've got a really diverse lineup. Primarily, we're still driven by GTPI and genomic net merit. My biggest thing is combined fat and protein and percent components. That's what pays the bills for us out here in Western New York. We've got a lot of production built into our pedigrees. Longevity is important to us, and we want animals that have high conformation, high type, but we want them to be easy animals to take care of. They breed easy, and they're the cows that you just don't even know are in the barn. On the other side of it, a lot of us are interested in the show ring, and we've got great cow families that we've worked with over the years. One of the ones that I'm working with is Have Not 8783, and we've made quite a few bulls out of her, and got a couple drop box sons in United Sires that are over 3 points of type and have a ton of production with them. We've got the bulls we've got bulls that are over 4 points of type. So we've got a little bit of that, and then a lot of the bulls that are going to be your everyday milk cows that are going to last and pay the bills.
Unique kind of venture with that number of breeders that are working day in and day out with a pretty significant number of cows, and it would suggest that there continue to be passionate breeders out there who are working diligently to continue to improve the Holstein cow, and kind of a fun process and lots of opportunities that are kind of embedded in that process. So Keith, I definitely appreciate you sharing a bit about United's process and where that's at, and a little bit about your background as well. And I do hope that folks will check out more about United. Don't forget to check out at nesholsteins.com our upcoming events. We will be shortly approaching the Northeast All Breeds Show, April 21 through 26, and there's not one, but two sales that will be held the week of the All Breeds shows. Check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Play, YouTube, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Thanks to our sponsors at United Sires and Zoetis for supporting today's episode and making it possible. Look forward to hearing more about our listeners' iconic cows, as well as our guests. And thanks again, Keith, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Betsy, and giving me the opportunity to talk about United Sires.